In its 10 years of existence, the Business Sector Advocacy Challenge BUSAC Fund has supported many advocacy initiatives aimed at improving the plastic manufacturing and management of plastic waste across the country. Through the use of business advocacy, the BUSAC Fund has supported many businesses in the plastic industry to overcome many overwhelming challenges that had sought to threaten their existence.
Plastic waste management is extremely important. When we look around in Ghana, we are plagued by plastic everywhere. Plastic in the roads and the streets, even in the fields. Plastic creates floods, it chokes the gutters, it strangles the birds, and the fish is affecting the fish. So something needs to be done about it. But at the same time, the plastic waste is a good material to recycle and constitute also a source of income. So the plastic waste have come to us to advocate for better collection methods, for discussing, engaging with the district assemblies on how the awareness can be increased among the population to help in the collection of plastic waste. And also in allocating the proper resources for the waste collectors to be remunerated so that they can do their job properly.
Well, the rationale behind the support to BUSAC and behind the support that the NIDI is providing to private sector development is really to get the private sector to thrive. It is to create jobs. It is to ensure economic growth, not only in the urban areas but also in the rural areas, and especially in the rural areas where where support is mostly needed. So it's to create economic development and jobs in remote areas of Ghana, as well as, of course, the urban areas. So it's really about making a better life for the Ghanaians. So in the end, it's about improving livelihoods.
In 2011, the environmental sanitation policy was introduced, under which a polluter pay mechanism of a 20% ad valorem environmental tax was imposed on plastic manufacturers and bottled water producers towards the establishment of a waste management fund. That tax accrued 20 million Ghana cedis in 2012 alone. However, since then, money accrued from the levies have been paid into the consolidated fund and spent on other government expenditures other than its intended purpose. The Ghana Plastic Manufacturers Association therefore sought the support of the BUSAC Fund to advocate the establishment of a waste management fund to help improve the hydra-headed sanitation problem in Ghana.
Well, on countless of occasions, the issue of light plastics became a challenge in Ghana. Of course, we know we are the producers of them. However, our initiative to support governmental institutions to come out with solutions were not being adhered to. So it was falling on deaf ears. So we said, okay, why don't we find a better solution to it? Now, the challenges I want to enumerate includes: one, the visibility of lighter plastics, which we always see when it rains, it's there. Even when there is no rain, it is there. So these were the challenges.
We have had two major challenges. The first challenge, I would say, is with the non-segregation of waste at source. By our waste management system in the country, all the waste that we generate in the households, in the hotels, in the institutions are all put together. And this makes the collection of plastics very difficult. And when the waste is also mixed together, it makes recycling also very difficult because the waste gets contaminated. So we went to BUSAC Fund to support us to advocate for a policy on waste segregation. The second challenge that we went to BUSAC for support was on the provision of funding. There is no funding mechanism, or I would say an institutionalized funding mechanism for waste management in the country. As a result of that, our collectors, the plastic waste collectors, are not able to expand their operations in the purchasing of trucks, in the purchasing of recycling machines, and then also in the purchasing of the waste itself. So we went to BUSAC Fund to help us to be able to advocate for a plastic waste recycling fund that will help our members to be able to access a much larger funding so that they can expand their operations.
Another area of concern within the plastic sector that brought the BUSAC Fund and the Ghana plastic manufacturers together is the importation of non-biodegradable finished plastic products into the country. This, coupled with weak enforcement of relevant waste management bylaws, have made the management of plastic waste very difficult in Ghana. Consequently, government and its agencies in 2011 threatened to ban the use of plastics in the country. This situation has the potential to collapse the plastic industry in Ghana if allowed to persist.
Banning has its own implications. Now, one, in as much as you try to relegate one side of the problem, you don't have a solution to what you are banning for. So the challenge was, okay, we want to take the mantle upon ourselves and see how best we will not encourage them to talk of banning. Instead, we will have an issue where it will be more jaw and a technological based approach to solve the problem. And we went to them, and BUSAC opened their arms for us, and we were able to start a process. When we input additive, an additive for production, within 3 to 6 months, it degrades into the system. And when it degrades, it doesn't bring any health challenges to anybody. Even when we use it in the production, everybody enjoys it because the time for its degradation had not triggered. Hence, it's a normal plastic everybody uses, and it's a normal approach to solving the problem. So when we wrote to BUSAC on this, BUSAC said, well, this is a good approach, we want to support you. So they supported us. We even had a trip, a technical committee was set up, and we had a trip to UK. They gave us an open arm, and then they showed us how the technology can be adopted in Ghana. We gave them our system because over here we use water sachet most often. So we were telling them that we don't want any other additive, because we have several grades in the additive. We want the one which has a food grade component in it, which means you can use it for any food substance and it will not have any health implications on the ordinary person. So they gave us that sample, and that is what we came to Ghana Standard Authority. They took it, they did their checking, and it was approved. And then we have come to this time where everybody is having a peace of mind.
The aim here is to use discussions and negotiations to put across your issues very clearly and discuss, sit with whether the district assemblies or the regional administrators, etc., sit down with them and negotiate. And through this, we've been able to affect the larger policy sector discussions with organizations like AGI, Private Enterprise Foundation, where they negotiate on major issues that affect their industry.
The absence of a regulatory policy for the enforcement of service contracts to government is locking up substantial capital and stifling the development of environmental service providers whose services are mainly rendered to government. The current lapse time between completion of contracts and receipt of payments takes a minimum of 6 months, making it extremely difficult for waste management agencies to access adequate funds to operate efficiently. To help address this problem, the Environmental Service Providers Association, ESPA, also leaned on the support of the BUSAC Fund to advocate the formulation of regulatory policy for the enforcement of government contracts.
We had 2 serious issues. The first one had to do with government's payments for the services we render for the various assemblies. So just when we were in the process and then started with advocacy, the policy change where government asked the contractors, the private solid waste contractors, to now go in and collect their own fees. So in order for us to get the needed support for us to be effective in doing our work, we then had to change the strategy and quickly rather engage the various assemblies so that the various assemblies could fix fees that are relevant to what we are doing. We were able to achieve this with the BUSAC Fund. As a result, we were able to train close to 16 assemblies, including Kumasi Takrade, and then we got all of them to review the fees for us.
Fortunately, the Waste Management Fund has been established and government is putting in place modalities for the disbursement of funds.
Because there is not enough funding in the system, the plastic waste recycling companies are not able to recycle all the waste that we give to them. So in the end, when you go to the recycling companies, they delay you for a day or two before they weigh. So the recycling companies need to expand their capacity. And these are some of the things that we hope that the recycling fund will do. The recycling companies can access these funds to be able to recycle more.
Again, after months of advocacy and engagement with key stake institutions, including the presidency, the threat to ban the use of plastic in the country was averted.
We can say with no equivocation that because of BUSAC Fund support, now in Ghana we have a policy that mandates, that gives every plastic manufacturer that go ahead to use an oxo-biodegradable additives which have been certified by the Ghana Standard Authority and have been approved by the Environmental Protection Agency for the production of plastic in Ghana.
We are working closely with the Ministry of Finance where we could set up a fund where government, we are looking at a fund called the Green Fund, where these monies will be accessible to private waste contractors to expand their work. We can go into recycling and also ensure that we are protecting our environment. But even with this advocacy, we've gotten to a stage where a bill has been prepared to be sent to Parliament for approval.
Members of ESPA, who are very happy for the government's decision to develop modalities that will ensure timely payment, testified that their revenue situations of waste contractors has significantly improved to the extent that there is massive evidence of few broken down collection vehicles and equipment and unpaid salary arrears of personnel.
The advocacy that we undertook through BUSAC Fund yielded very good results. Why am I saying this? Because as a result of the fees that were reviewed, at least member companies started breaking even and others started making profits. But that is not to say that is for those who had a lot of vehicles, but the small companies, they are still coming up. But the good news is revenue mobilization went up, and even now I didn't get my members also to pay their dues to the secretariat. So it was a good initiative. As
part of the advocacy, we submitted a structure for the disbursement of the fund. The Ministry of Local Government submitted that structure to the Attorney General's Department, and by our information, it has reached a very deep stage where it is going to Cabinet for approval. So basically, because we were able to give them the structure, it shortened the process of legislation. And this is one of the things that the BUSAC Fund has been able to do.
We've been supporting the BUSAC Fund since 2011 for a number of years now, and we're going to continue to support it in the future. We have contributed 3.4 million euros since 2011, and we've just decided this week on a new contribution of 7 million euros from 2016 to 2020.
10 years of business advocacy, we can see great progress in the awareness of the public about advocacy, but also the awareness of private sector organization on how to engage in a professional and based on evidence and research with government. And the government has been, over the last few years, increasingly aware of the benefits of engaging with the private sector on improving the business environment of the private sector. So my message is what is needed for Ghana is to continue to work on formalizing public-private dialogue structures that would allow this dialogue to be done in a regular way and also to be action-oriented towards improving the business environment of the private sector.